greatest movie soundtrack of all time? Is it Dazed and Confused? Is that possible? That's maybe
Dazed and Confused is probably one of my favorites. In fact,
is good.
And
it's
they
one
made
of those soundtracks you can't find.
They made a second soundtrack for it. It was so good.
Yes.
The podcast you are about to listen to is an account of the movies which befell a group of horror fans. In particular, Tara Garwood and her intrepid friend, Matt Lolich. Had they lived very, very long lives, they could not have expected, although they would have wished, to see as much of the mad and macabre as we're to see in those movies. For them, an idyllic summer movie became a nightmare, and they loved it. The movies that they watched were to lead to the creation of one of the most terrifying podcasts in the annals of American history. The Scary Movie Project.
Hey peeps, this is the Scary Movie Project, the podcast where we talk about scary movies and lull you to sleep with the sweet sounds of horror. No, not really. Not at all, actually. I'm Tara.
Hello, I am Matt. Today we are not going to talk about a movie necessarily, but we're going to talk about aspect, I suppose, right? Of
Very
a movie.
important aspect, yeah.
We have friend of the show, my former boss, Bill Vaughn is joining us. For those that, shameless promotion here, for those that listen to my website, hilltopvideos.com, you've heard Bill and I ramble about werewolves and zombies before. So now we're going to talk sound. Bill's on. Bill is a sound engineer. He's everything sound you need to know. I'll let him say more of that, but he's going to join us. We're going to talk about sound in the horror film from the beginning to today. So, Bill, I want you to say hi to everybody, and I want you to kind of kick us off and let us know what we're going to do.
All right, well, just a quick intro. As Matt said, I'm Bill Vaughn. I've been an audio engineer since I was 17, working in New York, different recording studios and so forth. I've served on the Grammy board as vice president and co-chair of the producers and engineering wing. So I record a lot of music over the years, a lot of movie, soundtracks, like independents, nothing major. So I can't get credit for that. But I've been
royalties, right? Royalties.
If royalties come in, as long as those checks come in, I'm good.
Yeah.
Royalty.
So what I want to kind of, dig into, I think is one part that's often missing in people's minds when they think about good horror movies, and that is the audio behind horror movies, whether it's the score or sound effects, things like that we can, give people another perspective of when they watch a movie.
Can we agree on something right off the top? Is that in film, video, whatever in general, people will forgive bad video. They will not forgive bad audio.
Not at all.
Oh,
not at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
But ironically, some of your new filmmakers don't pay much attention to good audio. So you look at some bad independent films, the audio is the one thing that's usually lacking.
You got to get it right.
You got to get it right. So, yeah, man. So we'll kind of go through the different eras of movies and kind of go from there with horror movies. And we love horror movies.
Yes.
So,
and then after our history, I have a little treat for our listeners. I have devised a cunning plan. I have a trivia quiz for you two to compete on. So
it's gonna be like Jeopardy.
We can look forward to that after the history.
Can I be like Burt Reynolds on Celebrity Jeopardy from SNL?
You don't want to be Sean Connery.
I'll be Sean Connery.
Sean Connery. Yeah, you can do that.
As long as somebody is Sean Connery.
Yeah.
I'll be Sean Connery. I'll accept that mission.
Then Matt, you can be whoever you want.
Okay.
So, Bill, you want to get us started off with the history of audio in horror films?
Yes. So let's start from the very beginning when before they were talkies, before you can sync audio to video.
Love
talkies, as they call them.
Love them.
Afterwards, yeah.
It's all the rage.
Exactly. So the silent movies, typically they were played in theaters and they would have either live organists or sometimes a small orchestra, really based on the theater. I mean, you didn't have the same theater distribution system as you have now with the with something that's going to be consistent all across the board. Mm-hmm. So one of my favorite movies of all time, and I saw it when I was probably about 8 years old at a day camp, when it must have been run by art students, and because I saw a lot of classic black and white silent films. But one of my favorite films is Nosferatu.
Oh, so good.
See, I'm not the only one that watched these films at a very young age. See, Bill did too. So
Yes.
I was
I'm
a late
alone.
bloomer in horror.
So Nosferatu, I mean,
it's amazing.
If you look, because they've recently discovered the original score for it, that the person who was
like the actual real, like the
real, not the real, just
Okay,
the actual
okay.
the sheet music.
Okay, wow, that would
That's
have
so
been incredible.
cool.
So what they did was they put it back into the later releases of Nosferatu, for video. So, but before then, sometimes, you'd have the pianist playing, or sometimes even a phonograph would be playing, phonograph player would be playing.
We talked about when we reviewed Dracula. Remember when they go to the cinematograph and they've got the phonograph playing? Yes,
exactly.
The London Theater. That's right.
Exactly. I mean, you got to keep in mind too, the reason why you'd have organists, and especially organists and a lot of the symphonies, because you had to really project that sound because you didn't have loudspeaker systems like you do now.
Right.
So,
can I just say how amazing that would be? I think Terry mentioned it. Could you imagine going to a theater and watching Nosferatu and listening to an actual live orchestra? That would be the most incredible experience ever.
Yeah.
I can imagine. But recently they did Get Out at Strathmore with a live
I love that
orchestra.
movie too.
That would.
Oh, that would be so.
I gotta do
amazing.
something like that.
Out on the lawn, too.
I got to do something like that one day. That's incredible.
I mean, that would be incredible, actually.
Oh my God.
So,
That's really cool.
so that was kind of the fit for that particular era until like 1929. The talkies came about. One of my favorite actors, and I'm just really being facetious, Al Jolson.
Yes. Al Jolson dancing the Charleston on top of the Chrysler Building.
All the blackface. So yeah, that was in 1929 when talkies started to come about. So that's when music started to become an integral part of music making. So we start going into what you call the golden era, which is between the 30s and the 50s. You had these big studio complexes, and the studios a lot of times had their own orchestras that provided music, and most of it back then was it's pretty much symphonic type of music. That was the music of the era, and this we kind of see reflected through the different eras. Whatever the popular music was, or the popular instruments, is pretty much which was used during those times.
So 30s to 50s, that would be like your black and white monster movies and
Wolfman, Frankenstein.
Yep.
Stuff like that. Sci-fi horror, things like that. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and most of the composers for these for the movies, for the films, all came from symphonic backgrounds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they if you listen to music, it's so involved. Even with small, because you have so many different instruments, you have instruments that actually mock, I don't say natural sounds in a sense, so you would have impactful, pieces like the timpani drums. If you heard timpani drums, you'll hear those in certain tense moments. Boom, 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 So
sure.
That it helped to create the impact, So and it's sometimes the simplicity throughout the film is what really made it work, and you see that later in things like Jaws with the two notes.
Oh right,
dun,
right.
Dun,
So do you guys?
dun, dun.
You guys have all seen Fantasia at some point in your life, right? Okay. I don't know if you remember that one scene where they play the song is one of my favorite classical music songs, "Night on Bald Mountain" by Musorgsky, I think it is. That track is. It has those drums. It has that creepy music. Everyone says Toccata and Fugue in D minor by Bach is like the scary. This song, "The Night on Bald Mountain," is way, way better. Love it to death. And that's like an instance of, I actually saw an orchestra. I was recording a shoot for someone else, but they played that song.
Okay.
So I kept my camera rolling and I made a cut of it. And it was Catholic University, I think it was. But yeah, listening to it live, amazing. And imagine that with like a movie or something. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's I mean, and I don't mean to sidetrack right now, but imagine if you and some
we sidetrack on this show.
Okay, just to make
It's
sure.
pretty much what we do.
I am a sidetracker. I pull different tangents all the time. Exactly. But you have filmmakers that will make films based on music. They kind of come up with the music and build a film behind it. I wish I had some solid examples.
Why not?
Yeah, but I mean, I can see that happening. Just you want to build around that.
There has been plenty of little videos I've made over the years where I've heard a track somewhere and I've got it in my head and I imagine what I want to do to it. And I have done pieces because I've loved a song so much. and I'm going to do something based around it. So that makes sense to me.
I mean, how about Pink Floyd?
Oh yeah.
Dude.
You know, Pink Floyd, you know, Off the Wall. You know, not Off the Wall, The Wall.
Yeah.
Think of Michael Jackson, The Wall.
Maybe
yeah,
the greatest,
Sure, The Who's Tommy.
We've had this conversation before, Bill. We've mentioned great movies, but then we always discuss too with our friend as well. Where we always say, you know, we talk about great movies, but you know, what's that great album of all time? Also, like, is it one of Michael Jackson's? Is it The Wall? Is it you know, like I don't know. So, yeah.
So many great choices, man.
Yeah.
So many great.
Don't leave out Prince and Bowie.
Oh, hell yeah.
Come on, man. I wonder what kind of music they're making whatever the afterlife is, whatever they're doing.
Oh,
I can only imagine.
It's good, I'm sure.
Yes. So, yeah, man. I mean, it's, you know, the era was great. You had a lot of great, composers back then because a lot of people were trained in classical music. Though jazz was still prevalent through pop, but it didn't really make, the soundtracks to horror, especially because jazz, unless you do a really dark minor jazz, it's really hard to put jazz into, a lot of horror movies.
Unless you're just trying to make that weird juxtaposition or whatever, I guess.
Exactly. But another side note, I actually put in some notes. You know, the 50s is also where guitars started to make an appearance in movies, but not really in horror movies, but it started to make appearances in movies. You know, so the first film that showcased it, the rock and roll guitar was Blackboard Jungle.
Okay.
So, it was a new instrument, in terms of being amplified and being introduced to popular, that was the young crowd. The young crowd they would listen to guitars. So then later you would see, in terms of like regular pop movies, you'll see Chuck Berry show up in movies and things like that. So,
that's awesome.
But I still have to find an example really of guitars in the 50s being used for horror movies because it really didn't come about until like the 60s. We started to hear this come about.
Okay. Yeah. No, I was going to say.
Interesting, because horror films are so ahead of the rest of the movie industry in some ways, but they were like behind in that.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting.
And with guitar, I think guitars are so expressive that I couldn't. Maybe it was just because of the way they would play, during that particular period, using jazz and rock and roll and blues. It really wasn't. I guess nobody really thought of a horror composition because a lot of stuff was made in minor keys and things like that. Major keys. I'm sorry. So it kind of had more of a happier feel to it. You can't.
Oh right, yeah, for the guitar stuff.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For those that are watching this episode, you can see Bill is quite a fan of guitars and bass also. So.
Yes, we can see that.
My stable. I love them, man. I feel secure around them. So as we exit, the 50s, we start going into the 60s. This
60s,
is where,
man.
yeah, man. Pop and jazz started to become, a trend in music, regular, typical music scoring, but symphonic composition is still included in many films, especially horror films, just because it was easier to compose horror pieces. But the one thing that came out through the 60s was the jump scare.
Oh, okay. Which is huge.
It really got refined and used a lot in the 60s.
Yeah.
There was always like small examples in early horror, but the jump scare.
Yeah.
So
right.
It was a cornerstone technique of horror films. Exactly.
Yeah.
It was often used, it's still like even now, used in video games. But it was intended.
Resident
Evil. Prime example.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Prime example.
Serious.
You know something's about to happen.
I had a serious addiction with that video game a very long time ago.
Exactly.
Woo, man.
But yeah, it was designed to scare the audience by surprising them with an abrupt change in an image or the event, usually co-occurring with a loud, frightening sound.
And if it's done right, it'll get you.
It'll get you.
Oh man.
And that's when. And the thing is, what I love about this is that this is also a time when the filmmaker starting to, and the composer start to see these things, like how can we make these things happen?
Yeah.
Whether it was done through a live orchestra or done in Foley spaces, they created this intensity when these things came out.
So one quick thing.
We're gonna talk about Foley later.
So that was one thing I want to bring up for everyone that's listening that knows a lot of what we're talking about, though they may not. So you want to tell them quickly what Foley is, just in like a brief sentence, I guess.
So I say in a nutshell, Foley, in most simple terms, is a way you can add sound effects to a film after the fact. Foley rooms were separate recording studios they would have coconut, a shell of coconut and a half to make like a horse sound, clop, clop, clop. Yeah.
There is
shoes on gravel,
exactly.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
There is a great on I think the special edition of The Exorcist.
Yeah.
The way that they did all the noises of like when she's ripping through things like the handcuffs or whatever.
Wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they have all these the way. It's just like these simplest little, just like household items that make these incredible sounds.
Dude, like with Star Wars, especially the early films, they hit a piece of metal to make the laser sound, and
the laser, pew, pew.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like you would never think, how's that like? Yeah,
because synthesis wasn't quite what they were looking for on that, but that sound was perfect. Yeah. So it's whatever works best.
Skywalker
I just
sound.
remembered. I forgot to bring up something during the 50s.
Okay,
Can we go back to the 50s for a second?
Please.
So the Wilhelm scream.
Yes, let's go to the Wilhelm scream, please. I just heard about this recently.
So the Wilhelm scream, for those who don't know, is a scream that was recorded in 1951 for the movie Distant Drums. They found this out, I think they found this out fairly recently. They went back and found where it came from. But
wow.
They had this scream, and it started being done where, I don't know how exactly it started, but some, Ben Burtt, the sound designer for Star Wars, discovered that original recording, and he used it in a scene where Luke shoots a stormtrooper, and the stormtrooper falls off the edge of a ledge.
Yep.
And they used the Wilhelm scream, and he named it after Private Wilhelm. And so he started using it in a bunch of other films, and then other sound designers started picking up on it. So it's become like a tradition to stick it into a film wherever there's screaming going on.
Yeah. Why not?
So let's see. You want to hear some movies it's been heard in?
I would love to.
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, all the Star Wars movies up until 2018. The last one was Force Awakens.
Okay.
The Indiana Jones movies. Apparently a whole bunch of Disney movies, including Toy Story, Cars, Up, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and Hercules, and it's been used in Game of Thrones.
Wow. So it's kind of used across all genres.
I was going to say, right. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
and apparently it was originally voiced, here's another little tidbit of trivia, it was voiced by, they think, by this actor Sheb Woolley. Again, in the movie Distant Drums, who also sang the 1958 song, The Purple People Eater.
One-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater?
Yes!
Great song.
Yes, the guy who sang that song apparently is the man who recorded the Wilhelm scream.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Wow, that is hilarious.
Thank you for letting me go back to the 50s for that. I had totally forgotten to say that.
Well, you know what? While we're still in the 50s, while we're still in the golden era, let's talk about one great instrument that was introduced to films, especially the sci-fi horror films, was the theremin.
Oh, they're so cool.
You get,
they're the ones where you wave your hand over it to play
I don't know
it.
much
exactly.
about it. I've seen them.
So let me give a quick description of it. It's an electronic musical instrument controlled with physical contact by the thereminist, the performer. It's named after Leon Theremin, who patented it in 1928. So it was a slow ride to success. But the controlling section consists of two metal antennas. I think one is up and one's to the side, and the other piece to the side. And that sense relative position of the theremin's hand, so you're literally composing with your hand as you work in it.
It's like a Nintendo glove.
Yes. so it controls the oscillator for frequency in one hand, the amplitude, the volume with the other hand.
Can you get one of these today, or is it impossible?
Yes, you can buy one made, and they'll also have theremin kits.
I would like to try
for yourself. I mean, it's to me, now granted, it's just like the Wilhelm scream. It was used in other movies. It was used in Disney movies.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what was the Monster House, whatever, Disney movie with the Haunted House, whatever.
Oh.
It was in that movie. You know, it was just in anything with science fiction. You know, sci-fi films.
Right.
But the first examples in horror were The Red House and The Spiral Staircase, 1947 and 1946, respectively.
Okay.
But you know, you'll still hear it, you know, after the fact, like in some movies now, you know, even later. So it's it's still about like even some pop music and some jazz music has presented the theremin.
All right.
I mean, it's a melodic instrument if you know what you're doing, but I've heard it's extremely hard to play. So
I
mean,
sure
it's
not
got to
easy.
be you don't have notes to know what you're playing. You have to like be in position in relation to where, like, what if you have it on a higher table one day? Then all of a sudden, all the notes are in a different place than your muscle memory is used to. Like
exactly.
That's a seriously
yeah, it would be so
specific-
hard to
wow.
play.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, yeah, man. I mean, it's amazing because they were able to record this stuff and mass produce it, which was incredible. So,
I was afraid when you guys were saying go back to the 50s, we were going to start talking about communism, so I'm glad we didn't do that.
So let's see. So we got the theremin in the 50s and the Wilhelm scream. In the
Yes.
60s, we got the jump scare.
Yep.
yes, the jump scare. Now, also, the jump scare, was still used afterwards. But one of the best examples, my favorite examples of the jump scare is probably in Psycho.
Yep. Okay.
It's
Sure.
this. The shower scene. Exactly.
Or jumping out of the room to come get the detective.
Exactly.
That's like a whoa, man. Yeah.
I mean,
that guy.
and jump scares and jump scares thrived in the 70s and 80s, which we'll go to in a few minutes.
Sure.
The Thing, Friday 13th, movies that they used them, and even
The end of Friday the 13th. That's like my favorite.
Yes, and Insidious, it
Oh,
comes
my
up.
gosh, yes.
Even like the more recent movies. So I mean, it's just a popular technique used in filmmaking to help create that mood, man.
Oh, it's great.
Now, the other thing that came out in the 60s too was stock music. So sometimes records were when you didn't have money or a budget for a full band, people would compile records to actually make a soundtrack of, and typically stock music is music that hasn't been really sold. It's not really a song on the radio. It's just, certain studios would just have this music on stock, so.
I love to see. I've seen the argument. I read an article recently about making a highlight video for something. It's just basically to show like that you're a good editor. And it's arguing the case for making a video out of nothing but stock footage of video and of audio. Nothing you created yourself.
Yep. Because I mean, you have to really make that fit into the vision.
Yep.
Somehow, and I mean it's art in itself. So an example of stock music, it's also called production music, is Night of the Living Dead. Night of the Living Dead didn't have any live instrumentation.
I didn't know that.
No,
It was all stock music compiled by William Luce.
Romero, they didn't have much money to make that movie. So.
not at
Yeah, I
all.
didn't know everything was already stock.
That was
for
all their
that. That makes
buddies and their
sense, though.
friends.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
But that music is spooky, though. It works.
Yeah, but but originally it was used for the silent movies, for the phonographs.
Yeah.
All that stock music, they would record
Because a
it
lot
and
of that
stock it.
in that movie.
So
that
some of it was
low-
music that they had sitting around for like decades.
Yeah, I mean, because it started, I think, 1927 was the first, was it The Wolf Music, was the first documented company to provide stock music for motion pictures.
Okay.
In 1927 on. So, yeah, I mean, it piles up. If you go to some old recording studios, you'll just see just masters that nobody's ever really heard.
And nowadays you can license it for anything, right?
Exactly.
Like indie filmmakers can license a song for like
Exactly.
$70 and
So
have it
where-
in their short marketing video or whatever.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Oh, I've done it numerous. I've paid
Yeah,
numerous
me
times
too.
to do
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a win-win for everybody across the board. It's lower budget, friendly, and then also people still get paid in the end because that licensing fee, the mechanical fees every time it plays.
I'm going to drop a hint for everyone out there. If you want stock music, though, to use it for free, literally for free, don't sleep on YouTube, because once you log in, it has a creator studio, and it's got a ton of free music on there. Don't sleep on that. And also, I had a question.
YouTube has a lot of stuff. Although
I
I
have
think
used it
it's only
extensively.
for use on YouTube.
That I don't know.
But if you're a new filmmaker and you just want to get some
I've used it
some eyes
extensively.
on it, start with there and then maybe get a budget
Yep.
that you can pay to use it.
Yep.
But
So what?
that's
So
another.
masters they keep of that. Do they put them on? Is it on vinyl or do they move it over?
Well, some of it gets moved to vinyl because at one point all you had was vinyl. You didn't have because early music was recorded on straight to wax, straight to.
I told you, I
master.
saw
the wax cylinders.
I saw an episode of Tony Bourdain, Parts Unknown. I don't remember where he was, but they actually were doing one of the scenes in the studio, and I had never seen it. They were literally dropping like the acid or whatever the is it acetate or whatever they call it.
Yeah,
and they're making the record. I had never seen that. It was like it blew my mind. It was so cool to watch.
I mean, some bands have recently done that as their main master.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
amazing.
just because of the warmth of it. But mastering vinyl recording is truly an art that
I can't imagine
for the unique person because it's a physical medium. So that means that like the wave, the lower the sound waves are, the bigger the bands are, which means the needle can skip out of it. So you have to make sure that you hit right where that needle can stay in, but capture that low end sound. And same thing with high sound. High pitched sounds are smaller, so you have to make sure that needle can still track in a small, that high signal. So it's an art, man.
Yeah,
something I don't see myself getting into.
No,
so.
That's some serious love.
Yes, that is. I used to play my mom's old records all the time. Like that was all I listened to was 50s and 60s music growing up as a kid. All my parents' old music.
Oh, my mom loves that stuff, man.
I used to like
Temptations 4 times.
I used to be able to tell like where the chorus in the song was by what the groove looked like.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
I mean, there's still a space for vinyl. I have a lot of vinyl in my collection, actually. Like these racks over here.
I haven't had my hand on a record in decades. I don't think.
Me neither.
I will tell you one piece of vinyl I still have that's still in the plastic is The Exorcist.
Oh, jeez. Oh, man. I'd
Oh,
love to
wow.
hear it.
The motion picture soundtrack. I still have that
I'd love
in
to
plastic.
hear that. But you gotta have
keep
the right.
that in the plastic, man.
I'm keeping it in the plastic.
Yeah.
I'm always searching for stuff like that.
But you got to have a good sound system to get the reels out of it too, though, right? I mean,
You do.
Yeah.
Right.
You do. And plus good needles, too, because you don't want to scratch those records up.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So
those are not turntable DJ records. Right?
Yeah, no.
Nah.
You're not gonna cut scratch with finesse on those. You kind of let them play.
Yeah.
With weighted needles. But the work they did on Night of the Living Dead, just circling back, was incredible, man. I mean, just it really set the mood through that whole movie, and to know that you're only using stock music.
That's so cool.
They must have gone through so much music to find the right pieces.
And that's the art of it.
It's
for you to find that vision.
Finding music. That's where when I do stuff, I don't know, Tara, you feel, but sometimes that's a challenge. You got to get that right track. You got to get that right track.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it affects your editing, everything.
Yes.
So it really has to be
like.
It just has to be the perfect feel because you're going to edit to it.
Exactly.
Once you've chosen it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It affects the whole timing of the scene and the feel of the scenes. Yeah, definitely.
Yes. So yeah, man, that really pushed that. I mean, they were still using stock music before, but not as much. Like some studios use stock music, but from artists they were trying to make money off the soundtrack. Like like Western movies were big for that. We'll have a soundtrack full of records. What was it? Clementine. Oh my darling. I think that was one of the first ones.
Oh my darling Clementine.
Yeah, and that record sold like crazy. The record sold as much as the movie sold.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
Oh, you know what? While we're on, I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make my suggestion, or at least comment on it. Greatest movie soundtrack of all time. Is it Dazed and Confused? Is that possible? That's maybe
Dazed and Confused is probably one of my favorites. In fact,
is good.
And
it's one of those soundtracks you can't find.
They made a second soundtrack for it. It was so good.
Yes.
It is really good.
That movie's amazing anyway, but that soundtrack is incredible.
It is certified some of the best classic rock.
I'm going to say modern day, more recent ones.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy has a killer soundtrack.
Yes. Oh my gosh, man! In fact, they use a song from Redbone. The what's the name? As a matter of fact,
he's got it.
He's got it.
Actually, I got this graphic novel of Redbone.
Oh, Redbone!
So I still have to read it. That's
awesome.
the band who did it. It's a Native American band.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Which I think the only person that has died is the guitarist, but I think they still do some things here and there.
Okay.
But yeah, man, sidetracking, but I sidetrack all the time.
That's okay. We're ranging. We're ranging topics.
We're good.
Stay with us, people. Stay with us.
Exactly.
We'll get you there.
We'll get you there. Just take it.
So we were talking about stock music being introduced in the '60s.
Yeah. So and that was the late '60s when with the horror films. And we go. And I'm sure there were other examples of other independent films that may have done it because it was a cheap way of providing a soundtrack for your movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would love to dig some of those up. One day, like dig into the deep B-movie
the archives
catalog
of that,
to see.
right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because sometimes that may be the only time you ever hear the songs, the music that was played on those movies, just on the movies itself. But let's move into the 70s, man.
Some great movies. Some of my favorites.
I think this is when the synthesizers really changed the whole landscape of compositions. And that's because you didn't need a full band. Like the sound of synthesizers was so hip at that point that people accepted it. I mean, I look at I guess it's not really a horror movie, but still one of my favorite movies, Clockwork Orange.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I mean, that is synth heaven. Okay, man.
So that movie, I'm gonna say, Bill, you know what I'm talking about here. I think Rob Zombie is one of his favorite movies too. There's my Rob Zombie reference every episode. Yeah. It might come in later, who knows? But that opening scene, of course, Stanley Kubrick made that.
Yeah.
That first shot where he's talking about how they are in the milk bar and da 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 da. The way that my hands are up. You can't see if you're listening, but the way it pans out, and he keeps the focus the entire time, and that crazy synthesizer
like holding a note
is playing. Oh my God! It's this long,
evolving as it's coming
tracking
closer.
Shot. These naked women. This is like, where am I? It's just like that scene. That's to open the movie, and it's like, dude, this is amazing.
And that set the tone. Yeah.
So is that like the Moog stuff? Then I guess is that
is the Moog. The Moog. Moog is a company that made synthesizers.
Yes.
When was the synthesizer actually first introduced? Was it in the 70s that it actually came about, or was it another thing like the theremin, where it was way earlier, but it didn't really become popular until the 70s?
I think because people still experiment with synthesis, synthesized sounds. Because the theremin is essentially a synthesizer. Sorry, I'm not in bourbon yet. So you think about it, it's a synthesized sound, but it's just the modular synthesizers.
Yeah.
Modern day synthesis, when they actually started putting the modules, because what happened was you would have different modules you'll connect together, like a low voltage, generator, a sound generator, and you plug one plug, patch it to the next synthesizer. Like you had bands in the 70s, rock bands, that would have a full wall of synthesizers behind
like just
them.
A big tower,
and just plugging them in, as you play through songs. I mean, what was that? The band's name, ELO.
I love ELO. Don't Bring Me Down. Great song.
Not ELO. It's one of those ELs. And I'll think of it later. It's gonna come to my mind after the fact. But yeah, man, Moog is probably one of the most popular synthesizers, because it was one of the most. One, it was definitely innovative, but it was also one of the first, like, majorly produced. It was mass produced. They were able to mass produce them. Robert Moog is the one who debuted it in 1964.
Okay.
So, and he just died maybe 10 years ago, I guess, somewhere around here.
I've definitely heard. Yeah, I remember when I was listening to it as a kid, people would have old records of it and stuff. And
I mean, if you look at a synthesizer setup, I mean, you have knobs, you have faders, you have all kind of. It's a complicated thing. It's really for nerds, in a sense. I hate this, music nerds, and I'm a music nerd in a sense, so it's no offense to anybody.
Yeah, but that's complicated stuff, though. I mean, that's not.
Yeah. I mean, but even like Stevie Wonder embraced it.
Is that right?
For one of my favorite albums is Inner Visions, and Inner Visions was recorded mainly with synthesizers.
Oh, cool.
Throughout the whole album, and he had a couple of electric pianos and stuff in there, but primarily it was all synthesizer.
That's very cool.
And the guy who helped him produce it just died recently too. I forgot his name, but great album though. Great album.
Right. Mark that down.
Yeah, check it out, man. And it's a great flowing album too. It's almost like a story. You can actually make a movie behind that whole album if you ask me. With the synthesizers came about the individual. Instead of using the orchestra, you had single composers who were able to compose themselves in the studio.
Yeah.
And some of the examples, and one of your best friends, Matt, is John Carpenter.
I love John Carpenter, yes.
Huge synthesizer user. I mean, look at Halloween.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, my heart right there.
Yeah, dude. And one of my other favorite examples is Phantasm.
Ooh, here you go. So I have one trivia for you, Bill.
Okay.
Now Carpenter made the music, and I think we talked about the scores, like the 1-2 time or whatever it's called. I forget.
Yeah.
But who is listed in the credits as the composer that did the theme? Do you guys know this at the end of Halloween?
No.
I think it's listed as the Bowling Green Symphony Philharmonic or something like that. Yeah. So.
I mean, John Carpenter is one of those rare examples of somebody who brings the whole package in. I mean, he composes the music. And,
well, that's why his name is above the title of his movies, because they're his movies.
True creation all the way through.
Yes, they're his.
Well, what's the other guy who, musician who does films? He was under, he would do stuff with Tarantino. What's the guy's name?
Robert. No.
Yeah.
Rodriguez?
Yeah, he plays guitar and everything else.
Oh, no, you're right. Okay.
Yeah.
Read his book, Rebel Without a Crew. Great book.
Gotta check it out. Also, Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, it came later in 1984, but it was still coming off that 70s era synthesizers.
I think Tara's got some.
We will be watching for Halloween month this year. We'll be watching the first 4 Nightmare on Elm Streets all in a row. I have never seen them, and I have been waiting. I have been waiting to see them so that I could see them fresh for our Halloween extravaganza.
You will not
this
be
year.
disappointed.
How can I be down?
Yeah, right.
I'm so excited. I'm
Fred
like,
Krueger.
I keep waiting. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Gotta wait. Gotta wait till we record.
Oh,
I
yeah,
might
man.
have to watch 1 or 2 of them to remind myself, but yeah, that's going to be great.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I'm Jennifer James.
I'm Jill Stanley.
We're psychics.
We're sisters.
We are the hosts of the Common Mystics podcast.
If you enjoy creepy stories,
Road trips,
haunted locations,
history,
and mysteries,
then the Common Mystics podcast is for you. Check out our website at commonmystics.net. Find us on Apple Podcasts.
or wherever you're listening to your favorite pods.
Oh, so what about? I'll throw one in there. How about the great disco synthesizer score from the original Dawn of the Dead?
Yes.
When the zombies are kind of just
Yes.
wandering through the mall, and they had
Yes.
this it's so. Oh, I love it. It's so
Dude,
great.
it's you know, and that's a bit of like
man.
like with juxtaposition in films too.
Well, that's what Romero was all about. The zombies in society. You're right. Exactly.
Yeah, so you know, and a lot of films had those examples like the juxtaposition in films. You know, even like again, going back to Insidious. Insidious, they would have certain songs that would, you know, be a happy song. Was Halloween 2? They had Mr. Sandman.
Okay, so let me tell you guys about Mr. Sandman. All right, that to me, because of that movie, it was a song. I'm talking about old songs our parents.
Yeah.
My mom loved that. What is that? The Chordettes? Is that right, Bill?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So to this day, since I've been a kid, it's Halloween too. That movie, when I hear it, like I'm like in fear mode. Like, where's Michael Myers? That movie like elicits genuine fear out of me now, as opposed to like someone like my mother who would listen to it and would think, "Oh, what a great song!" And I'm like, "Turn it off!"
Exactly, dude. So
Right.
you know, so speaking of that, you know, so
Oh,
of course,
man.
House of a Thousand Corpses in 2003. You know, I Remember You.
So that is a great scene where
Yes.
it's that scene where
It's a
he's
slow
opening.
motion torture scene.
He's basically reenacting again. Here's another Rob Zombie reference. That's his
Yeah.
film. He's basically reenacting Ed Gein, the guy from Plainfield,
Yep.
the grave robber.
Yep.
You know, when he opens up the bar and he finds the women all tied up, and
Yeah.
they're playing that song. The father finds him. Otis comes out, shoots him, shoots the cop. It's this horrible, horrible scene of humanity. But it's this like nice song playing, and like it totally works.
Yeah,
I love it.
Oh,
I love it.
absolutely.
So would Blue Moon in American Werewolf in
Classic.
London
Good
count
Classic
for
example.
that?
Classic
call.
example. Classic
Yeah.
example. I mean, you
I
got
love that because it's also like
Yeah.
it does create tension, but it's also kind of funny. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of comedic.
it kind of throws you off. It kind of
that
opens your
movie,
emotion.
yeah.
It kind of widens your emotion about the moment.
I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
stuff like that. Like I'll mention one thing. This is not a scary movie at all, depending on what you think. But when I think of those moments, always think of like The Godfather at the end,
Yeah.
where he's christening this child, and this great moment is happening. While at the same time, all his enemies are being wiped out. Like
Yeah,
it's these
yeah.
just total opposite of what's really happening. It works
Yeah.
so well. Yeah, it's great. I love
Yeah,
that.
man. Nah, it's juxtaposition in films, man. It's just
It's great.
like, well, I forgot. Yeah. So, like I said, Insidious is one of my favorite examples. You know, just it.
I haven't
you
seen
see
that movie in a long time. They
Dude,
made a
it's-
couple sequels too, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I didn't see the sequels. I just saw the first
I haven't
one.
seen them. Yeah, but that was good. That was a good
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. So
We should review that.
review that. So going into the 80s,
Ooh.
you know, the highlights of the 80s. So the orchestras were starting to die off during this time because studios who want to make more money want to save some money because studio, if you look at like symphony musicians have to be paid, union rates.
A lot, yeah, right.
And back then I was thinking it was like $200 or something an hour, something like that. So if you have a full orchestra in.
So but can I rewind to 70s real quick? I'm going to want two things. One, we talked about Foley and noises. Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
All that, those weird sounds.
Yeah.
From my knowledge, what I've been told, it's a tuning fork hitting a piano wire.
I can believe
that is what gives those crazy noises that make you cringe, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. And then I was going to say, oh God, I just totally blanked on something from the 70s now. I've totally forgotten. Orchestra. John Williams, Jaws, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He had a whole orchestra for that song, right? Exactly. So beautiful. I would love to watch that live. Oh my goodness, that would be
Absolutely.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Absolutely.
Ooh, wow.
I mean, the early Star Wars films, I know it was a different genre, but
that's
just
true,
full orchestras, yeah.
Who was the composer? Who did the Star Wars?
I can't remember the guy's name.
Williams?
We should know. John Williams did Star Wars too?
Was it not John Williams?
I
don't know.
Maybe it's probably obvious, and I'm probably gonna. My brother-in-law is probably listening, and he's like, "You don't know the Star Wars trivia? What's the matter with you?" But I'm blanking on this. Who did it?
I was more of a Trek girl.
John Williams.
It had.
Okay, I was right. Yes.
It had to be.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
All right, go on to the 80s. That was my two just last.
Oh no, that's cool. But you know what? While we're here, because we're going to hit a couple things that happened in the 80s. You talk about different instruments.
I happened in the 80s.
And God, we regret it ever since.
I'm not telling y'all when I happened.
I'm going to tell you when I happened either. So, but certain instruments were, that were created for weird sounds were developed during this time. One was the blaster beam. It was invented by Craig Huxley in 1984. It's an enormous instrument, 12 to 18 feet long. It's made of about 24 piano strings and movable pickups. Pickups are where you can, it's a transducer, like a microphone for strings, so it can pick up the sounds. Okay. And a motorized, which can be motorized, but it looks like a long lap steel guitar, and it creates these weird tones that they're not really musical, but they create a weird tone.
Heard of this thing?
Yeah,
wow.
Definitely look it up. A blaster beam.
Blaster beam.
You also have the.
I would think that would be in Star Wars.
Yeah, you would think so, right? The water phone. Invented and patented by Richard Waters.
So is that a hydrophone? As I know it, then?
It's kind of it's pretty much the same thing.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So it's an harmonic acoustic instrument. So it creates primarily by the vibration of the instrument itself without airflow.
Okay.
Some instruments need airflow for sound to resonate and create, like a horn and stuff like that. Stainless steel resonator bowl with a pan with a cylindrical neck and bronze rods of different lengths and diameters around the rim of the bowl.
Okay.
And a resonator that may contain small amount of water, giving the water phone a vibrant ethereal sound and creepy sound bends.
It's like a waterbed microphone.
It's like playing glasses.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's a unique vibrato and shrill metallic sound.
That's so
yeah,
cool.
like playing when people play glasses.
I love that.
Exactly.
They go around the edge.
Exactly. So it looks like a big plate with rods hanging out of it. That's what essentially it looks like, a metal plate with metal rods.
I'm trying to think of a movie that I've heard something in either one of these in.
Well, the water phone was used in Poltergeist.
Oh, right on.
And Aliens.
Oh, dude. Okay.
Both so good.
So
yes.
I wish we had known we did our Poltergeist, but Aliens. Okay, that's badass. I love that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now the other instrument is called an apprehension engine.
It sounds like something that would be in a horror movie.
Now, the thing is, you would like this one,
Apprehension.
Because it's created by Mark Corvin.
Okay.
Who created the film and TV composer. He's a film creator, and he created The Witch. So so that sound is used throughout The Witch, which is meant to create apprehension.
Movie.
Okay, so I just know the director Robert Eggers who made it, but I didn't know the sound guy. Okay, so that's him. That's fantastic.
So it was made
amazing.
It was made for the sole purpose of creating sounds that are disturbing.
Oh my god!
And which come from the manipulation of a variety of strings, bars, wheels, bows attached to a wooden box.
I gotta get one of
That's
these.
so cool.
So it looks like almost like a wooden version of a steel guitar.
Oh man!
But with additional wooden and electronics attached to it, and it's literally nothing else sounds like it.
I heard that for The Witch, that part of what Eggers wanted to do was that all the music at least had to be something that you would hear in that time period.
Yeah.
Like instruments
Everything
that
had to be
could have
authentic.
been played in
Yes.
that time period
Yes.
and everything. So this though was not for the music
It's not
so
for
much
music,
as for the sound, for the
the
ambient.
creepiness. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Nat sound.
And yeah, I mean, definitely look it up. Anybody who's listening to this, definitely look it up, and you'll get the examples and realize what you've been hearing. It's not really. I think because we get to us now like synthesis that these things are easily created when sometimes using actual instruments works.
Well, that movie was crazy authentic, so I'm not surprised by
Now,
that.
he did
movie's
he did work
amazing.
on the cult film Cube, horror sci-fi.
I never saw that movie.
Cube is great.
Yeah,
it's
I haven't seen it
so
either.
good.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I've heard about it, though.
Yeah,
you guys have to see it. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
really, really just dark and screwed
Yeah.
up. It's great.
I like
I've heard. I haven't seen it, but yeah.
So there were two 80s sound, I guess synthesizer stuff again, we could maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, you got to listen to the theme from Slumber Party Massacre, because
Yes,
that is like synthesizer
yes,
heaven, basically.
Yes.
And please listen, do yourself a favor, go on YouTube. Please listen to Friday the 13th Part 3 theme.
Okay.
It is this amazing, like, heavenly mix of disco and synthesizer that is just, you have to listen to it. I can't even explain it.
I got to check it out then.
Oh,
I got to check it out.
But
now,
yeah, that was those 80s, like, yeah, they loved those.
Yeah.
It was great.
I mean, and like I said, for horror movies, because sometimes horror movies didn't get the bigger budgets. Like the regular sci-fi
A lot of
dramas
times
and
they did
comedies
not.
got. So you had a lower budget, and that means you had one composer and no musicians to pay.
You had to do what you could, right?
You had to do what you could. So out of practicality, out of limitations, they created something great out of these things, because they definitely created a mood for these movies, man. I couldn't imagine watching those movies without the synthesized sounds behind them.
Yeah.
Of course.
So let's move into the 90s, man. This is when things, 90s up until now, actually. So one thing that really changed a lot, and just me working in the music business, was computer-based digital audio workstations.
DAWs, right?
DAWs.
Yeah.
So that made you that allowed you to really compose and record within the box, within the computer, and it improved over time. With better analog to digital converters and things like that, better computers to handle the crunching that you had to do, the number crunching to actually record, ingest, and mix.
Well, I remember
and output music.
When I started editing. I mean, it was on Avid, and that was a very, very long time ago. I was still learning. We were still ingesting a lot of VHS.
Yeah.
And that was what you did.
Yeah.
And so I remember that was, if I had started doing this stuff 5 years previously, it would have been a totally different, more analog kind of world. Right. Exactly.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you, digital recording has come a long way. I just remember when early on we were recording to digital. To record like let's say a guitar track for a 3-minute song, we literally had to let it render for half a day.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
And then
sometimes things render for a while now, but man, I remember when I first started video, how long it took you to render.
Yes,
But we thought it was like fast at the time. We're like, this is great. It only takes 4 hours.
It was better than the alternative.
Exactly.
I know.
The other thing that came about too that kind of saved a lot of money and space, samplers.
Oh yes.
So digital audio samplers, basically can you say you can anything you record to it, you can assign it to a key and you can play it back, and it's recorded into the RAM inside, into the memory of the.
It's almost like the instant replay we used to use too, right?
Like instant replay, yeah. It's an earlier version of instant replay. In fact, so many studios started buying Synclaviers. Synclavier is like one of the first samplers used in the studio, and those were crazy expensive.
Oh, I'm sure.
But you had all your sounds stocked up, and you can take any sound you hear outside, record it, bring it back, and assign it to a key. So so now the Foley work started reducing because you didn't have to have somebody keep doing it over and over. You actually had it right here. You can build your catalogs up. So that came about, and then also virtual instruments had gotten better. So you had like string sections that sound lush that you would think came from a real string section, but it's from a virtual instrument.
Yeah.
So it allowed these composers to have more access, instead of just having access to synthesizers. Now you have access to real sound, like sounds that sound realistic. Like it sounds like a string, not a synth string, but a string.
And then it just makes your special effects and everything just sound so much better because it's real. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So a lot of cases, they would, you would have that. What allows it to do as well, I'm sorry, is that you can collaborate across the board with different people. You can, early on, we used to use, God, what was that? What was that connectivity, man? We used to use,
Firewire.
Nah, not Fire. This back then, like we had to send something over the internet. Before you had high-speed routers, that's how my mind is going. It's getting going blank.
That was my attempt to answer
Ethernet?
that. I just threw it out.
It was before. We still used the Ethernet cables, but it was actually the route, the modem.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
What is it?
And it was the same protocol for VTC, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Bill and I are like going into our own
I don't
world
even
here.
remember.
And people used it for VTC for a long time because it was secure. It was like point to point.
It's going to come back to me. Go on to something else. I'm going to
Yeah.
think about this.
It's going to come back to me too.
I'm going to scream it out here in a minute.
Probably come back to me next week.
Don't
But anyway.
scream it.
But you can collaborate with some
ears,
different
don't
people.
scream
I know. But you can bring somebody in your studio, or you can give them a 2-track of what you got already and send it to their studio, and they can record their parts on it and send it back to you, their parts in an individual track, isolated track. So you have a lot more, flexibility on how you actually produce the music now. You didn't have to rely on expensive sessions, because this is also a time, like the 90s on now, is when the larger studios began to shrink.
Yes, I was going to say.
Yep,
Because the cost was so high.
Yeah, those big-time studios are like history, right?
The history, man. And it's so sad because I just remember when I used to work in New York and studios in New York, most of the studios were in the Village, like downtown, the Village, stuff like that. And it got to the point they all turned to condos.
Everything turns into condos.
Yeah, so,
Which is
I
terrible.
mean, it's but that also came about because people started exchanging music for free. It was no longer the same business model you can rely on to make money. So
Ask Metallica about that, right?
yeah, you go.
Yep,
There
yep.
you go. So it simplified the process of DAWs actually simplified the process of composing the film, because almost virtually all DAWs have some sort of way of syncing the film. You can input the film into the DAW and you can start scoring as you go. Take a break, go surf, play video games, come back and continue where you're at, and everything is still synced up. When you finish, you can send that back, synced up, to the filmmaker.
Yeah.
Makes life so much easier. But the good thing about it is too, there's like people started getting real creative with the production, because they would take, even though they would compose mainly on the DAW, they would also reach out sometimes in the orchestra to bring in certain parts. Full horn section to bring in certain parts, so it started coming back to the collaborations again.
Yeah.
Kind of both.
Because now you start to see, now it's easier to get the main product going, and then you can start stacking on top of it to make it sound even richer.
Yep.
So yeah, it's
So
That's so cool.
So a couple things that I know that have been used more now, I think than in the past, at least I've seen it more in modern day things, are infrasound.
Yeah.
Infrared.
So infrasound is sound that is like 20 hertz around or even
Subliminal,
lower.
'cause it
It's the
reaches deep
human ear
inside
can't
you.
hear it.
Yeah.
The human ear can't hear it. It's too low for us to hear, but
Yeah.
it makes you feel unsettled. It's been known to make people like throw up, like get nauseous and
Well,
stuff.
the funny it's because it's like the vibrate, even though you can't hear it, the physical vibrations are happening.
Right, it's still vibrating your eardrums.
It's still vibrating your blood,
your body,
your
and
fluids
yeah.
and all that. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so horror films I know are using those now
Yeah.
to like make people feel unsettled. And then the other thing
by
I
me.
wanted to bring up that I love now, that the movie A Quiet Place does, is that diegetic sound design.
Yeah.
Where like it's all in the world of the movie,
Yeah.
but it's so prominent.
Yeah. it is.
Because they all have to be silent, that like there's that in the very beginning of the movie, the mom is shaking out pills for her son, and you can hear the pills sort of go
Yeah.
in the pill bottle,
Yes.
and you're like,
Yes, yes.
whatever there is after you is going to get you.
Yes, exactly. Oh my gosh, man.
That's
So
awesome.
I love that. I don't know when those both sort of came in, but I know
Yeah.
that they're both used nowadays.
And a lot of times because that situation, they don't normally mic it, then they'll either sample that sound somewhere else and then put that into the timeline. Fully right on in.
It's kind of too perfect in A Quiet Place for it to have been just like that sound that they recorded.
Yeah. I mean, you still got innovative filmmakers who'll still push the bounds and really get that sound, because you can use like a parabellum mic, you can kind of shoot directly into the sound to get it. Yeah.
Right.
So dude, that's a great example actually. The other thing that came about too, just a lot of pop music enters like some of these, especially the teen movies.
Oh, sure.
You'll hear something like a more popular upbeat teen song, played throughout the movies as part of the soundtrack, because again, soundtracks still sell. Especially when CDs were still selling. People buy the CD to the soundtrack.
I love in Pet Sematary, the original Pet Sematary.
Yeah.
Stephen King is a huge Ramones fan. Like, he makes no bones about it. And when they play Sheena is a Punk Rocker,
yes,
when the truck driver's getting geared up and he's driving into town and he's going to kill, he runs over the kid. But I that's like a modern song that I actually listen to, because I like the Ramones. They're cool.
Yeah, I love the
and
Ramones.
Yeah, it's you don't hear that. It's not like a created score. It's an actual song that is played. So I think that's
Well, and they do it
I
to
like that.
set. They do it to set tone and time period as well.
Yeah.
Like House of the Devil.
Oh.
She's listening to her Walkman.
Yeah.
And you're hearing songs from the 80s because it's an 80s homage film.
Yep.
What's the song that we love? That she's rocking out to. Oh God.
I forget what song it is. I just remember that she's listening to it.
The Fix. One thing leads to another.
One
thing
thing.
Yes.
leads to another.
Love that song.
So good.
Love that song.
Oh my gosh, man.
Oh
Yeah.
man, we're
Great
singing
example.
a lot in this episode.
You
We
know,
don't usually sing.
Well, we're talking about music,
Talk
so I
music,
guess
so
This is true. This
we
is true.
probably should.
But no, film started going back to the bigger budget, so you had a lot more collaboration. So this is what I love about just the flexibility now. So I think what you see now, if you it's like an amalgamation of all of film, audio coming together from early on, playing it live out in the audience.
Yeah.
For the audience, whatever, and then you also have all these different instruments that come in. You still use a live instrument at the same time you're using the workstations. And then sometimes you're doing, just using stock music that's available that may fit the particular tone of the movie.
Yeah.
So I think, just seeing where it's going now, and I'm curious to see what are the next steps moving forward.
Right.
With film.
Exactly. That is. Yeah. I mean, I don't know enough about it, but I can't wait to hear it.
One thing they tried to do at one point, and it didn't really work out, and I knew it wasn't going to work out because it only worked out in films, was surround sound, music, surround sound.
Oh, right.
And not you can do surround with
having
with
a great surround sound system for a movie is pretty awesome, but I mean
exactly, but people don't have it at home, so it still had to translate to a stereo mix. People can't set up 2 speakers correctly, much less
Right.
5 or 7
Most
speakers.
of us, we have the bar that fakes surround
Exactly,
sound, and then we have like
exactly.
one woofer in the back.
you gotta
Exactly.
have. You got. I mean, I remember when I had a setup years ago. I had a 5.1. It was so good, and oh man, just the rain behind you and doors closing.
Yeah.
They would be so good, man.
I mean, one of the first mixing consoles I had in my studio was a Yamaha O2R, and I had the option for 5-to-1 and 7-to-1 mixing.
Oh wow.
Send it out to the you send it out through the buses. So I had my studio. I had it set up at
You can
2
do
in
it.
the back and 3 up front.
I mean, I know Final Cut did it. I think Premiere can still do it. I've never even attempted to make a mix out of one of those Pro because I don't know how to do it. But you can do it.
You can do it, but the thing is that you still have to deal with is phase issues.
Oh, sure.
If things are not, if the speaker's not perfectly in place, you actually lose a sound. Because the waves are cancel each other out.
Yeah.
Here's my recommendation, or no, if you want to use your surround sound, please watch Twister in a 5.1 surround sound and turn it up. It is the best surround sound movie I think I've ever heard. It was. I watched it on a friend's system once. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
When they remastered the audio for Apocalypse Now, And I went to see it. I went to see the Redux. I went to the theater to see
there's
it.
another great. I mentioned I love classical music in these movies.
Yeah.
So the Ride of the Valkyries
that
that they play in Apocalypse Now. Oh my God. That is one of my favorite scenes.
After they finish surfing, you know what I mean? It's like, come on, man.
You guys are in town. The waves are kind of high today. Robert Duvall.
Yes.
I love the napalm in the morning. Let's get out there.
Oh, Blue Radley. That's my man. So
Not a scary movie, but
All
whatever,
right.
yeah.
Are you guys ready for some Foley trivia?
Uh-oh.
Give me what you got. I'm probably going to get them wrong, but I'll get
All
it.
right, here we go.
I'm getting.
How do we answer? Do we just jump in and answer?
I got 7 questions for you, so you just jump in. Whoever jumps in first and gets it right,
Okay.
okay? All right. Number 1. Okay. No, I'm not going to number them because I won't remember what number I'm on. Anyways, the first one is, what food was used to make the stabbing noise in the shower scene in Hitchcock's Psycho?
Oh, God.
Oh.
I should know. Steak, it's a total guess. I have no idea.
A burger? I don't know.
Okay. A cassava melon.
I feel like I've heard that.
Are you serious?
I'm
A
gonna go
cassava
buy.
melon.
Now
I've
I'm
never
gonna
even
go
had a
buy one.
cassava melon, but
Now
there
I'm
you
going
go.
to go buy
cassava
one and
melon.
stab it, and I'm going to record it and play it back and see what it sounds like.
Hey,
All
sample
right.
it.
All right, so
Yeah,
you guys
save
are
a sample
0-0. You got to do better than this because one
I'm
you got to
telling
win.
All right.
Oh, man.
We'll try.
All right, ready?
Yeah, let's go.
You can do what with water to make a gurgling blood sound?
Put
Heat it?
air. Put air in it, or
You guys are. There's
kinda same?
some close. There's some close coming.
I don't know what else. Okay, so can you say it one more time? I'm sorry.
You can do what with water to make a gurgling blood sound?
sit it down the sink. Let it record water going down.
I'm going to give you that one. You probably can do that, actually.
Flush it?
I'm giving the down the sink to Bill, but
Okay,
this
all right.
what I found was
I got
there's
nothing.
a veteran Foley artist, Gary Hecker. He
Okay.
puts the water in his mouth and sprays it out
Are you serious?
like different
Oh,
ways.
okay.
Yeah.
I can see that.
wow.
Yeah, he just like puts it in his mouth like
And then just
sprays
Foley,
it. And,
Foley work is creative, man.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like it's stuff you would never even think of.
I mean,
it seems so
the thing is,
simple.
you know, they use artificial means to make it
It's
realistic.
amazing. Yes,
It's
and
amazing.
it's usually very simple. Quite
Very
frankly.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
so simple. Like
Right.
I wouldn't have thought of that. Like, oh, you just
Yeah.
burble water in your mouth. Like
Yeah.
So many
Exactly.
Foley
Of
artists out of
course.
work, man. Foley artists need to come back.
so.
Right,
I actually
right.
the next one. The answer is a Foley artist I know.
Okay.
He's a local Foley artist here in the D.C. area, or at least used to be. I don't know if he's moved, but he used to live here. So, what does playing with raw chicken sound like? I'll give you a hint. What bodily thing does
Bodily
playing with
acid?
raw chicken sound
What's
like?
it, like your bones breaking? I don't know what it's supposed to be. I mean,
My answer is so wrong that I'm not going to answer.
well, yeah.
Oh.
You're gonna go down that road.
I'm trying not to. We're talking about horror movies, right?
I mean, okay.
What is it
So,
supposed to be?
according to Matt Davies, he's a Foley artist at Studio Unknown.
Okay.
It sounds like pulling out intestines.
All right. So my guess was
I can see
all right,
that.
What
I
did
can
say?
see that.
Bones breaking. So like, okay, all right.
Yeah, I can see the
would've-
bone breaking too, though. I mean, if you want to break
Yeah,
the bone, you know.
If
Well,
you
we're
had, like,
about to go into that. The
Yeah.
next question is,
Uh-oh.
what food sounds like breaking bones?
Oh, okay.
And there are 2 right answers here.
I would say like squishing a fruit again. I would feel like some sort of fruit again, maybe
Breaking bones.
like that kind of
Matzo
like
cracker or something.
busting open something. Yeah,
Give
like
you a hint. They're both vegetables.
Carrots.
Oh, like maybe snapping a carrot or something. I mean, I would think might work for
I
you.
would maybe take
Or
a carrot.
celery, or making crap with some celery, maybe.
Matt
Yeah.
gets it.
Yeah.
Celery or cabbage.
Okay.
Wow.
Oh, cabbage. Yeah.
And
But I
you
could
can
see a
also
big-
use like a little bundle of
Interesting.
sticks and leaves.
Okay.
Interesting.
I could see a big, healthy piece of celery and just snapping it. That
I
would
think
make
Yeah, yeah.
celery more than carrot because it gives more of that like
It's
sound
fibrous.
instead
Yeah,
of just like
it's
a
a little bit
snap.
of fiber in it. Yeah,
It's very
definitely
Yeah,
get
fibrous.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
right,
so
that's-
you're 1-1, guys, and
That's
we got
the
3
one
more
I'm-
questions.
I
Ready?
know I'm gonna get right probably. So.
Okay. Punching a watermelon can make what kind of Foley sound?
A door shutting, maybe.
A head getting
These
squashed.
are all horror related, hun.
a
Don't
head getting
guess a door
squashed in
shutting.
or something, or
I mean, I don't know. It could be.
Somebody's head getting hit by a bat or something.
I'm trying to think of what punching a watermelon sounds
I know.
like.
Exactly.
I know.
I don't really
hard.
even know. That's why I said a door. I don't even know what it really sounds like.
So I think a head getting smashed in could work, but the answer here was punching, grabbing, or whirling a watermelon around. However
Breaking
you
a bone,
whirl a
breaking a
watermelon
bone, right.
around,
Wow.
makes great blood splatter audio.
Okay. All right.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm just trying to picture even what it sounds like.
Yeah.
All right, here's another. This is another hard one, but
Okay.
so think about this one for a minute. How would you make the sound of skin creaking, which just gives me the chills to think about? Ugh.
Skin
Like
creaking?
when skin, like when skin gets like.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
I think so, and I'm trying to. I mean, I know.
This one would be really hard to guess, but it makes sense when you hear it.
Maybe again, like you said, I remember you were talking about twisting like a bundle of something. I feel like that, or like maybe using some. They talk about skin being like wax paper sometimes. Maybe like crunching paper in a ball or something.
Skin of a cooked food or something. I'm trying to think like
Yeah.
Skin of a cooked food. Yeah, like.
Yeah.
Okay,
People say
skin
like
of a cooked food.
people say like someone's skin was there, like a really elderly person has like wax paper skin or something, maybe like crumpling something out of that. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that, or if it's
That's
being
all I
if the
can-
skin's being peeled or something like
Yeah.
I made some salmon the other night with the skin on, and
Yep.
pull the skin off, and as it actually sounded
Ooh.
pretty gross. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can use actual. Yeah, okay. Actual
So
skin
Matt
from something.
Davies twists a baseball glove.
Oh, the
Which
leather.
I'm guessing because it's
What?
leather, it sounds
Yeah.
like it, right? So
Yeah.
he takes a baseball glove and like twists it up.
Okay. All
That
right.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Makes a lot of sense.
isn't that creepy to think
That
though
is
that leather
very-
sounds like skin because it's skin?
Well, it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
yeah.
is,
I'm a
yeah.
vegetarian, so I'm like, ugh.
That's interesting. Okay, makes sense.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
Last one, and this one has a very specific answer.
Okay.
It has an actual correct answer. No
No
fooling
ballpark.
around. No
Okay.
ballpark. This has a correct answer.
Okay.
What kinds of blades were used to make the sound of Freddy Krueger's claws?
Oh God, I should know this.
Garden shears.
I'll give you a hint. There are two different kinds.
Blades. Not knives. Not like a chef's knife.
Not like a
say that.
sword or.
A blade. A certain
Blade.
blade. Okay.
Two different kinds.
I know the sound of his because I've seen the movie, so I know the sound. But I just don't know. I just don't
Yep.
know
So
what-
there's the sound,
Yeah,
and there's
yeah.
the like.
and then where it's
sound.
where it's scratching across like actual like pavement or
There's
brick
a
or
like
something.
ringing sound,
Yeah.
and there's like a sound.
Like the chick would be like a good, like some garden shears can probably make something like that kind of noise, I guess.
I
But
bet
was-
they could.
Well, that was Groundskeeper Willie on The Simpsons when they did the spoof, right? Wasn't
That's
he?
right.
That is
That's right.
not what they use, but I bet they could use garden shears.
I do not know. I don't know.
So the ringing sound was a machete,
Okay.
Sure.
and
Wow.
the sharp like snick snick sound was surgical steel blades.
Oh, interesting.
Probably
Okay.
taking them and doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. back and
Nobody
forth.
can see me on the podcast, but like
We know
clinging
what
them
you-
together, scraping them
Yeah.
across each other.
like your sharpening sound. Yeah.
Man,
exactly.
to pick that sound, I wonder what kind of mic they use to pick that. How
Oh,
did they
man.
record it?
You got to have like a crazy
So-
silent room.
So you guys
Yeah.
tied
Wow.
at
Well,
one
I'm
point each.
We're both losers anyway.
I'm surprised that I
We're
got one
gonna
of them.
call
to be
it
honest
that you
with
both
you.
won
We're both
Okay.
because you
losers.
both tied.
Do we get participation trophies?
You get participation trophies. Yes,
Okay.
you get
Well,
booby prizes.
Okay.
Then I guess it's worth it.
We
The
both get
booby
yellow
prize
ribbons.
is being on our show.
Yay!
Yay.
Oh, one more. I'll just add one more interesting soundtrack score, or whatever.
Okay.
Tara, we liked it. The movie Ravenous.
Oh,
Has
so good.
The
and Ninth
very,
Gate.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
That's
so,
right.
Ninth Gate.
So Ravenous has this very bizarre ding 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 dun dun tone to it. I've never heard it. It's so odd. I love it to death.
Yeah.
And then Ninth Gate, like I said before, I love classical stuff in movies thanks to Kubrick.
Yeah.
and I actually, you're talking about nerding out. I own the Ninth Gate soundtrack on CD. I know
so
it's terrible.
good.
Wow.
It's
I gotta
beautiful.
re-listen to it.
It's beautiful. I've actually used it in a few of my productions. I know it's just technically whatever, but I love that music. It's so spooky. It's so haunting, and it's so like orchestry beautifully done. It's awesome. I love it.
I gotta listen to it again. I mean, it's like the thing is,
dude.
I love
go YouTube it. You can watch the whole thing on YouTube.
I love Johnny Depp. For some reason, I couldn't get through that movie.
That movie.
That movie is one of my favorite.
I gotta. Maybe I was in a different time, time and space when I was watching it first. I'm gonna watch it again. I'll watch it this weekend.
Try it again. It's a really good movie.
Yeah.
At least the music, at least by itself, is fantastic. So that's. I think that was a tour that was pretty thorough. Wow.
Yeah. So you got any other knowledge you want to drop on us, or did we pretty much hit everything?
I think we hit everything without us going into long, deep tangents.
Right.
That would last for hours.
Without this being an actual great courses
exactly.
Kind of lecture.
This is more of getting people introduced into so they can research even deeper into what else is out there.
And you should get deeper because it's such a huge part. We mentioned at the top. You know, people forgive bad video sometimes, but they don't forgive bad audio. So it's key.
Do not.
It's huge.
No.
Yeah, I mean exactly. A film. I mean, so for me, because I'm an audio person, this may affect other people moving forward if they start listening deeper into music and audio and films. Is that you'll never watch a film the same way again. Because as you listen and you're analyzing, like, oh, now I get this is what they did. This is the technique they use. Oh, these are the instruments they use. This is how they put this together. I listen to the separation of the music, and it's just everything.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because for the lay person who's not an audio person, like, if the audio is really good and right, you don't notice it at all.
No, you don't.
Like,
exactly.
It's the pun intended unsung hero.
Exactly.
Movies, like, it's so needed to make the movie right, but if it does its job properly, you won't really notice it. So next time you're watching a horror movie, just think about the audio a little bit. Listen for it. Pay attention. Audio deserves to be listened to and paid attention to.
Exactly.
It's important too.
I would say watch a movie without audio and see what happens.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what happened, I think, in Halloween, where when he made a cut before the music and stuff, the producers, the folks with the money were like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
They told Carpenter to make a bunch of changes, which he didn't make, of course.
Yeah.
But he added then the score, and they were like, my God.
Caught you then.
This movie is terrifying. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it is, man.
That is the beauty of it, man.
Yep.
That is the beauty of it. This was fun, man.
Yeah, thank you, Bill, so much for being here.
It is my pleasure.
Thank you both for being such good sports about my
Hey,
bringing
I'll do trivia whenever. I might not get it right.
Test on you.
Yeah.
I'm always
a la
up
our
for it.
friends at Laughing with Gingers. I stole that from them because they play games all the time on their podcast.
I think we've done that with them when we were on them before.
We did.
So,
We did it with them when we were on their show.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's good.
So I stole that one from them. Thank you guys, friends of the show.
Yep. Thank you.
So thank you for being here. We really enjoyed having you.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere people can find out more about you?
Yeah.
Yes, actually, you can go to my studio page, which is urban-intlek intellect on Facebook. Okay. You can find that on there, or you can go to the website, same spelling. So it's urban-intlek.com.
All right, thank you.
Yeah,
So next up, guys, we're reviewing The Babysitter, which I'm really excited about because Matt has not seen it.
No, he hasn't.
And this is your episodely reminder to subscribe to the podcast.
Yes.
Remember to follow us, rate, and review on iTunes or wherever you're listening so more people can find us.
Yes.
And don't forget, guys, you can send us your movie suggestions or your thoughts on the movies we watched so far at thescarymovieproject@gmail.com. And you can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Scary Movie Project. Later,
Absolutely.
Gators.
All right, guys.
Give a hoot. Don't pollute.
The Scary Movie Project podcast is produced by Tara Garwood and Matt Lolich. Learn more at thescarymovieproject.com.